Could Ethan and I navigate the fragile path toward healing without breaking? As the town's collective glow pulsed around us, I realized that the journey ahead would not be easy. Yet in the quiet moments between the shadows, I heard the faintest heartbeat of possibility, light waiting to be rekindled. The studio was cloaked in a muted silence, broken only by the faint scratching of charcoal on canvas and the distant hum of the town settling into night. Leela sat slumped on a worn wooden stool, her fingers trembling as they hovered over a half-finished sketch. The room smelled faintly of turpentine and old paper, a scent that once brought her comfort but now felt suffocating. Her chest tightened with a weight she couldn't shake, memories pressing in with relentless force. The soft glow that usually radiated from her chest flickered like a dying candle, weak and fragile. For months, she had tried to keep the darkness at bay, painting bursts of color to outshine the shadows of grief that clung to her. But tonight, the floodgates had opened. The image of Grace's smile haunted her, the warmth of their laughter now a ghostly echo. She pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to hold back the tide of tears, but it was no use. A sob escaped, raw and unbidden, fracturing the quiet. Leela. The soft knock at the door startled her, and she quickly wiped her face, desperate to mask her vulnerability. Ethan's voice was hesitant, a cautious thread woven through the quiet. "May I come in?" She hesitated, the instinct to retreat warring with a deep, unspoken need. "Yes," she whispered, voice barely audible. The door creaked open, revealing Ethan's familiar figure framed by the dim hallway light. His dark hair was tousled, and his thoughtful eyes held a softness that contrasted with his usual reserve. His glow, though faint, pulsed gently, a subtle beacon in the dim room. He stepped inside without another word, the air shifting as he closed the door behind him. Without asking, he moved to sit on the edge of an empty chair across from her, hands loosely clasped in his lap. The vulnerability in Leela's eyes stirred something deep within him, breaking through the walls he had built over years of guarded solitude. "You don't have to face this alone," Ethan said quietly, voice steady but gentle. Leela looked at him, the walls around her heart trembling. "I don't know how to stop feeling like this," she confessed, voice cracking, "like I'm fading away." Ethan nodded slowly, the dim glow around him flickering as if responding to her words. "I've been there, more times than I can count." She swallowed hard, surprised by the honesty in his admission. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because it's easier to keep the light low," he admitted. "Less risk of getting hurt, but it's lonely." The air between them softened, their emotional lights beginning to mingle in a tentative dance. Lila's glow, once flickering faintly, steadied with a gentle warmth, as if Ethan's presence was a balm to her fractured heart. Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall, tapping softly against the window pane. The sound was soothing, a rhythmic reminder that even storms passed, leaving space for renewal. They sat together in silence, the unspoken understanding growing stronger with each heartbeat. Leela found the courage to speak again, her voice steadier this time. "I'm scared to let go, Ethan. Scared that if I do, I'll lose him forever." He reached out, his hand brushing against hers, a small gesture heavy with meaning. "Holding on too tight can make us forget to live," he said softly. "Maybe we can learn together how to hold on and let go." The warmth between them grew, their lights weaving into a shared glow that defied the shadows lurking at the edges of the room. In this fragile moment, Leela felt the first real stirrings of hope since Grace's passing. It was not a cure, nor an erasure of loss, but a promise that healing might be possible. As the rain intensified, drumming a steady cadence against the glass, Lila rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. Their lights shone steadily now, a quiet testament to the power of reaching out, of breaking down walls, and the courage found in vulnerability. The night stretched on, filled with whispered confessions and gentle reassurances. And though the darkness still lingered beyond the window, inside the studio, two hearts beat in unison, alight with the fragile fire of new beginnings. But even as they found solace in each other's presence, the questions remained: would their newfound connection withstand the trials ahead? Could they both learn to trust the light within, despite the shadows of their pasts? The answers were still unfolding, like the slow bloom of dawn after the longest night. And so, with hesitant hope and trembling hearts, Leela and Ethan took the first steps toward healing, their faint lights growing brighter together, promising that even in the darkest moments, the glow of love and trust could never be extinguished. The night was far from over, and the journey ahead was uncertain. But in the fragile glow of that shared moment, Lila knew one thing for certain: she was no longer alone. The morning light filtered gently through the tall windows of my studio, casting long shadows that mingled with the soft hum of the town waking up around me. For the first time in months, my hands moved instinctively, as if the brush was an extension of the emotions that had been tangled and dormant inside me. The canvas before me was blank no longer. It bloomed with color, vivid, alive, and shimmering just like the glow that now pulsed steadily within my chest. I could feel it, the flicker of hope, the embers of passion reigniting. I had feared the well of my creativity had run dry, that my grief would forever smother the light that once danced through my art. But now, with each brushstroke, that fear dissolved. I was painting not just the town's luminous nights, but the quiet resilience that lived beneath the surface, the way the light bends and shifts, even in darkness. A soft knock at the door startled me from my reverie. I turned to see Ethan standing there, a tentative smile playing at the edges of his lips. His dark hair was tousled, and he wore a sweater that looked as worn and comforting as the bookstore itself. But what caught my eye was the faintest glow around him, warmer, more present than I had seen before. "May I come in?" he asked quietly. I nodded, stepping aside. He entered slowly, eyes scanning the canvas with a mixture of awe and something deeper recognition, perhaps. "It's beautiful," he murmured, voice low and steady. "You're capturing something I've never quite seen before, the way this town really feels." I smiled, feeling my cheeks flush with a warmth that wasn't just from the morning sun. It's been hard to find the words to say it, but the light here, it's more than just a glow. It's hope, pain, memory. It's everything we carry inside. Ethan moved closer, settling into a chair near the window. "I want to share something with you," he said after a pause, his gaze distant but sincere. "About Ella." My breath caught. His sister's memory had always hovered like a shadow between us. The reason his glow remained dim, a quiet sadness I had never dared to ask about. He spoke then, softly, of laughter echoing through sunlit afternoons, of dreams whispered beneath starlit skies. Each word seemed to kindle a light within him, the dim glow around his heart brightening with every memory shared. I listened, feeling a tenderness that bridged the distance between our guarded souls. The hours slipped away unnoticed until Jonas Reed arrived, his silver-streaked hair gleaming in the afternoon light. He carried with him the weight of history, stories of the town's origins and the mystical glow that had bound its people for generations. "The light," Jonas said, settling beside us, "is not just an effect of emotion. It's a living testament to our connections, past and present. It grows stronger when we share our truths, when we allow ourselves to be seen." His words resonated deeply, echoing the fragile trust building between Ethan and me. The afternoon waned into dusk, and the streets outside began to shimmer with soft, radiant hues, the collective heartbeat of our little town. We stepped outside together, the cool evening air wrapping around us like a gentle embrace. Our lights mingled, flickering and intertwining, a fragile but undeniable beacon against the encroaching night. "It feels different," Ethan whispered, his eyes searching mine. "Like maybe there's room for more light than I thought." I nodded, squeezing his hand gently. "There's always room. We just have to let it in." As we walked beneath the glowing canopy of our town, I felt the weight of grief loosen its grip. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time it was illuminated not just by the town's magic, but by the fragile, growing light of two hearts learning to heal together. And so, with the night embracing us, we stepped forward, glimmers of healing lighting the way. The late afternoon sun poured warmth through the windows of Maggie's cafe, casting a honeyed glow that danced across the wooden floorboards and the mismatched tables that had witnessed countless conversations over the years. The air was thick with the comforting scent of freshly brewed coffee, cinnamon, and the faint undertone of vanilla from the pastries cooling on the counter. Maggie sat across from Leela, her curly red hair catching the sunlight in fiery bursts that seemed to mirror the gradual strengthening of her emotional light. "You don't know how freeing it feels," Maggie said, her voice bright and a little breathless, "to finally let go of that weight I've been carrying. To let my light shine without shame. It's like I'm finally breathing again." Leela smiled, the warmth of her friend's progress seeping into her own heart. She had seen Maggie's glow flicker uncertainly for months after the breakup, a flicker of pain dimmed by resilience. Now the light was steady, even vibrant, a testament to the power of vulnerability and community support. "I'm proud of you," Lila murmured, her own glow pulsing gently in response. "It gives me hope." Maggie reached over, squeezing Lila's hand. "We're all healing in our own way, and that's what makes this town so special. Our lights aren't just for ourselves, they're for each other." The words settled between them, unspoken but deeply felt. Outside, the town was beginning to stir with preparations for the upcoming Emotional Light Festival. Lanterns hung from lampposts, their soft hues mingling with the fading daylight, casting a kaleidoscope of colors that seemed to capture the essence of the community's collective spirit. As Leela stepped outside, she noticed how the townspeople's glows had brightened noticeably. Couples walked hand in hand, their intertwined lights casting warm, golden halos. Children played in the square, their laughter ringing clear and bright, their youthful lights flickering with joy and innocence. The sight was breathtaking. It was as if the entire town was weaving itself into a living tapestry of light and emotion, each thread strengthening the whole. Her gaze drifted to Ethan, standing quietly near the bookstore's entrance. His dark hair was tousled from the breeze, and his thoughtful eyes caught hers for a moment. His glow, once a muted shade of blue-gray, now flickered with hesitant sparks of warmth. It was subtle, but to Leela, it was unmistakable progress. Later that evening, inside the book-lined sanctuary of Ethan's bookstore, the scent of aged paper and faint vanilla mingled with the soft glow of a single lamp. Ethan and Leela sat close, the silence between them comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. "I never thought I'd be able to let this light shine," Ethan confessed quietly. "After Ella, it felt like if I opened up, I'd lose more than I could bear." Leela reached out, brushing a stray lock of dark hair from his forehead. "But you're not alone anymore. We can hold each other's light." His glow brightened just a bit under her touch, a silent affirmation of trust and tentative hope. The next day, the town square was alive with preparation. Jonas Reed stood on the steps of the town hall, addressing a small but attentive crowd. His silver-streaked hair glinted under the morning sun as his voice carried reverence and pride. "Our emotional glow is more than a beautiful tradition," he said. "It is a reflection of our shared history, our collective grief, and our enduring hope. Each light you see is a testament to the strength we find in one another. As the festival draws near, let us remember that even the faintest light can grow brilliant when nurtured by community and care." The crowd listened, their hearts pulsing visibly in shades of gold, pink, and blue, a living mosaic of resilience and connection. Leela felt a swell of emotion rise within her, a mix of gratitude and anticipation. The threads of their individual journeys, her grief, Maggie's healing, Ethan's courage, Jonas's guidance, were weaving together into something larger, a communal tapestry that would shine bright at the festival. As she looked around at the faces aglow with hope, she whispered to herself, "We're ready." But beneath the surface, she knew the coming days would test their lights in ways they hadn't yet imagined. The festival was not just a celebration. It was a crucible for healing, for confronting shadows, and for embracing the unknown with open hearts. And in that, Leela found a spark of something new, a promise that even in the darkest moments, the light within could be rekindled, stronger and more brilliant than ever before. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the glowing town, Leela felt a quiet determination settle in her chest. The threads of their community, their stories, and their lights were pulling tight, weaving a story of second chances and the profound power of shared vulnerability. Tomorrow, the festival would begin, and with it, a new chapter for them all would unfold. The late afternoon sun filtered softly through the tall, narrow windows of Ethan's bookstore, casting elongated shadows across the worn wooden floorboards. The scent of old paper and polished wood mingled with the faint aroma of brewed tea lingering from earlier in the day. Ethan sat alone behind the counter, the usual hum of quiet customers replaced by a contemplative stillness. His dark eyes, usually so composed, flickered with a restless unease as they darted toward the glowing screen of his phone resting on the counter. The dim light of his emotional glow barely illuminated the space around him, a gentle but unmistakable contrast to the vibrant orbs that danced outside the windows as the town grew darker with the setting sun. His fingers trembled slightly as they hovered over the contacts list. There it was, his family's number, unchanged for years but heavy with memories both tender and painful. The weight of all those unspoken words, all the nights spent wondering if he could ever bridge the silence, pressed down on him. The fear of opening old wounds warred with a fragile hope that perhaps, this time, something might be different. A soft creak of the door pulled his attention away. Leela stepped inside, her chestnut hair catching the fading light. Her paint-stained clothes, a testament to the hours shed spent wrestling with her own emotions. Her expressive eyes searched Ethan's face, noticing the tension that had settled around his shoulders like a second skin. "I thought I'd find you here," she said quietly, crossing the room with a gentle confidence that seemed to ease the tightness in the air. Ethan offered a small, grateful smile. "I wasn't expecting company." Leela pulled up a chair beside him, her own emotional glow flickering softly, a beacon of warmth amid the dimness. "Sometimes that's the best kind," she replied. "What's on your mind?" He hesitated, then nodded toward the phone. "It's my family. I haven't spoken to them in years. I'm thinking about reaching out. But I'm scared of what might come back." His voice was low, vulnerable in a way that surprised even him. Leela reached out, resting a comforting hand over his. "Fear is part of healing," she said gently, "but so is hope. You don't have to face it alone." Together, they sat in companionable silence as twilight deepened outside, the town's unique glow beginning to shimmer around them. It was a quiet affirmation of the fragile trust growing between them, a bond forged through shared pain and the tentative promise of something new. A few days later, Ethan and Lila wandered the familiar streets under a canopy of stars, their emotional lights weaving together like threads in a tapestry. Ethan spoke hesitantly about Ella, his sister, the bright light, who had left too soon and left behind a shadow that had dimmed his own glow for so long. "I always thought if I reached out to my family, I'd only face more loss," he confessed, "that it would break me all over again." Lila squeezed his hand. "But sometimes reaching out is how we find the strength to carry on." When Ethan's phone buzzed with a reply from his family, the message was cautious but hopeful, a step toward reconciliation that neither had dared to expect. The light around Ethan brightened imperceptibly, a soft radiance that mirrored the growing warmth in his chest. He shared the news with Lila, their smiles reflecting the promise of healing and the possibility of brighter days ahead. As they sat together in the quiet of the bookstore, their emotional glows mingling and strengthening, a new chapter began to unfold, one where fear no longer dictated the boundaries of their hearts. The echoes of loss remained, but they no longer defined the rhythm of their lives. Instead, they became part of the intricate pattern of resilience, trust, and love that illuminated their path forward. Yet, as the night deepened, both knew that this was only the beginning of a journey filled with challenges and discoveries, where the faintest light could grow brilliant with care and courage. The question lingered softly in the air. Could they both embrace the vulnerability required to truly let their hearts shine? The answer, like the town's eternal glow, promised to reveal itself in time. The last rays of sunlight spilled softly over the rooftops of the town, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the cobblestone streets. From the small window of her studio, Leela Munro watched as the first lanterns flickered to life, their delicate glow weaving through the trees and lighting up the faces of neighbors preparing for the festival. Despite the familiar warmth that spread across the evening air, a cold tightness gripped her chest, not of anxiety that twisted deeper with every heartbeat. She leaned closer to the window, fingertips tracing the cool glass as if it might somehow shield her from the vulnerability that awaited. The Emotional Light Festival was more than a tradition in this town. It was a communal rite of opening, of laying bare what so often remained hidden behind daily smiles and polite nods. For Leela, who had spent so long cloaked in the shadow of grief, the prospect of bearing her flickering, fragile light to the world felt both terrifying and necessary. Her thoughts drifted to Ethan Clark, the quiet bookstore owner whose glow had always been a muted mystery. Alone in his shop, he sat hunched over a worn collection of poetry, the pages yellowed with time and edges softened by countless readings. His dim light pulsed faintly, a hesitant heartbeat in the dimming room. She knew he wrestled with his own fierce fears, shaped by loss and the long years of holding himself apart from others to avoid pain. Tonight, she hoped, might be the night he finally let that light grow. The air outside thickened with the scents of autumn cinnamon, wood smoke, and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting from Maggie's cafe down the street. The cafe was a hub of warmth and laughter, a place where old friends gathered and new hopes were kindled. Inside, Maggie Turner moved with practiced ease, her curly red hair bouncing as she moved between tables, encouraging smiles and sharing quiet words of encouragement. Lila stepped into the cafe, the comforting chatter wrapping around her like a soft blanket. She found Maggie wiping down the counter, her bright eyes meeting Lila's with unspoken understanding. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world," Maggie said gently, sliding a steaming cup of tea toward her. Lila sighed, fingers curling around the warm mug. "It's the festival, Maggie. I thought I was ready, but now I'm not so sure." Maggie nodded knowingly. "It's okay to be scared. Opening your heart isn't easy, especially when it's been broken. But you're not alone. We're all glowing because we've found the strength to keep going, even in the dark." The words settled over Lila like a bomb, softening the edges of her anxiety. She took a slow sip, feeling the warmth spread through her, a small flicker of light rekindling within. Meanwhile, Ethan stood behind the counter of his bookstore, the quiet hum of evening settling round him. He ran his fingers over the spine of a poetry book, his thoughts as tangled as the words on the pages. The festival was hours away, but the weight of what it demanded pressed heavily on him. To open up to share his pain, his fears felt like stepping into a blaze that might consume him. Yet, beneath his hesitation, there was a growing resolve. Lila's presence, her tentative light shining despite her sorrow, stirred something fragile but fierce within him. Maybe, just maybe, he could let his own light grow brighter. Outside, the town square buzzed with energy. Strings of lanterns crisscrossed overhead, casting a warm golden glow over booths laden with handmade crafts and fragrant baked goods. Jonas Reed moved steadily through the crowd, clipboard in hand, coordinating last-minute preparations with calm authority. His silver-streaked hair caught the lantern light, and his glasses reflected a quiet determination. He paused to exchange encouraging words with the volunteers, reminding everyone that the festival was more than celebration. It was a shared act of healing. "Our lights shine brightest when we face the darkness together," he said, his voice steady and sure. Back in her studio, Lila paced, wrestling with the storm inside her. The thought of stepping into the festival's glow, surrounded by the radiant emotions of the town, felt overwhelming. Her grief, which had once dulled her light to a near invisibility, now pulsed with a strange Enargia mixture of fear, hope, and the aching desire to belong again. A soft knock at the door startled her. Ethan's voice, quiet but firm, came through. "Can we talk?" She hesitated, then nodded, opening the door to find him standing there, his usual reticence softened by something new, a flicker of vulnerability that matched her own. Together they stepped into the evening, the lanterns above casting a gentle glow that seemed to wrap around them like a promise. The festival awaited, a night where fears would be faced and hearts laid bare. And for the first time in a long while, Lila dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, their lights could shine together. As the town's emotional glow deepened into night, so too did the fragile threads of connection between two souls learning to trust the light within. But the journey was just beginning, and the shadows of doubt still lingered, waiting to test the strength of their newfound hope. The lanterns flickered softly overhead, and the first notes of the festival's music began to weave through the air, a melody of light and shadow, loss and love, fear and courage. Lila took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her like a delicate veil. "Are you ready?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She met his gaze, her own light trembling but present. "As ready as I'll ever be." And with that, they stepped forward together into the night where hearts would be tested, and where even the faintest light could blaze brilliantly if nurtured with care and trust. The festival had begun. The evening air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of blooming jasmine and the distant murmur of the town preparing for its most anticipated night of the year. As twilight descended over the quaint streets, the town began to transform. Lamps flickered on, casting soft halos of golden light, but it was the people's own emotional glows that truly